How's it going, everybody? Vegeta saying what is good to all my Super Saiyan homies, and I am here for something, I'm not going to say fun, because this video took a while to put together, but I'm really proud of how it came together. And by a while, I mean it took me 2 days to do it, because the first time I tried, quite frankly, I kept running into either laggy matches, super duper, like, just kind of wailed out matches that I just couldn't win. And then, quite frankly, just matches that I wasn't playing well against. But I'm actually really happy with how this team came together because, truth be told, I have not seen this floating around anywhere else. I don't believe this is anything that anybody else has covered or thought about. But the team that we're going to be covering today is Future Ku, Kid Goku, Super Saiyan 3, and Transforming Goku Black. If I'm being real here, the four of them string together really, really well. They're a really good Saiyan composition. And truth be told, Raditz even kind of fits into this blend as well. I'm not huge on his second passive, but I have not personally unlocked it because I don't particularly think it's worth it. Anywho, the idea here is as follows. The idea here is these four units kind of really benefit from one another's different passives and quirk skills and whatnot, and they just kind of all build up a little bit to kind of working in unison. So D3 had pointed out that like SSJ3 is pretty desperately asking for card draw speed. He's pretty desperately asking for it, and just doesn't get it. So the things that I kind of tried to do was I tried to take Kid Ku and SSJ3, who are providing a lot of ki through their passives when they switch in and out, and string them together with Goku Black and with Future Ku, who are also providing ki via their green cards, as well as card draw speed via the green card in the case of Future Ku, and in the case of Goku Black, in his mains and his passives. So it ends up just kind of working out that there's a lot of ki restoration, there's a lot of ki recovery boosts, there's a lot of draw speed involved. So there's just a lot of things working together to kind of prolong and keep the combos going, which won't necessarily be the case come the battle update, but for right now, we can still kind of use it, and abuse it a little bit. And then lastly, Future Ku also provides a strike cover, which is very, very crucial in this meta. There was actually one match where I'm not going to end up including, but I ended up getting my ass handed to me because the person was running 3 strike covers, and I can't even remember who they were, but they were 3 strike covers I would have never thought worked together. Anyway, I'm going to shut up. We're going to go right into it. Oh, these are going to be post-commentary videos. I don't think I mentioned that this is DB Take the L, which is where I will do post-commentary and analyze my mistakes as well as good plays that me and my opponents made. So I'm going to shut up, and we're going to jump right into the first match. Okay, so for the first match, we've got a pretty interesting little Saiyan team going for us. He's got some nice, some EXs and some Zenkais, which I thought was pretty cool. So pretty early on, I got a nice little backdrift going to give me a perfect to start things off. But pretty quickly, things kind of go out the window, and he does give me with a solid Buster Shell. So that's one thing I have to say. If you're not accustomed to drifting, get accustomed to it. I definitely think you will benefit from it. So that little switch right there, that could have been better. I was trying to get a double switch, or get a double vanish in. It didn't go too well for me, but it's something that worked out. And right there, he had actually dropped the combo, but things didn't work out. Those were some nice little taps there by him. And as you can see, I just kind of start getting aggressive, which really isn't a great case with Broly versus this guy, but you know, his lock-in doesn't last for very long, and we're able to get Kid Goku back in. That's kind of the thing I always say about this EX Broly, is that people like to act like he's this stellar meta-shattering unit that will forever be relevant. I don't necessarily agree, but, you know, he's not bad. So here comes that rush, and it's kind of confusing why he goes for it on the Kid Goku, but I'm assuming he just wanted to get rid of that first life. And almost immediately I'm going back for that heal, which is going to, in turn, pretty much end up just kind of throwing things off. Now this was just a poor play. I'm not sure what I was going for there, why I even thought that green card was going to do anything. But, you know, you live and you learn sometimes. So it's not going to be enough to kill, but he does end up picking up the feint. And I just have to say, it always seems like the feint comes in on times when it's like, I don't know, like when you have type disadvantage and there's not much you can do. So I was kind of hoping that transformation was going to be a nice stop clock to get me out, but I popped it way too late for it to even be anything meaningful. And once again, he gets me with some pretty solid taps. That ends up being a good stop clock for me, though, because I'm actually able to time those blasts and defend it. The only thing is, it doesn't really end up working out for me. But considering he doesn't have much ki at this point, I thought it would work in my favor, and it instead just ends up working out and me being trigger happy. But there, I very easily could have stopped his Kamehameha, but instead we end up going for the green card, which in turn is going to pop some nice heals. And it's also going to give us a nice little opportunity to get a perfect vanish. Once we do that, we're going to pull in the boy, SSJ3, get some nice little damage off here on Nappa, and just go to town on the big boy. Nappa to me is scarily good. He's very basic, but he deals a very high amount of damage. And in this, we're able to go soul for a soul and get the feint for a feint. Which, in there, I didn't do any ki recovery just because I already had a pretty high amount of ki. I was kind of just waiting to draw some cards, so this way I could get in a combo and actually, finish the job, not actually waste the glorious feint that was given to me. Now, that ends up being a beautiful switch in my favor. And once again, a really nice stop clock, but it doesn't end up working out for me, as he's actually able to get out of my attack pretty much just perfectly fine. Now here, this is another one. I'm just not sure why he rushed for a second time, but it really kind of speaks to my sloppiness in this match and how I wasn't necessarily playing the best of my ability. And once again, I'm not even able to guess him because I did go for what he chose in the first place, which ends up taking me out with Goku Black. Now here, we're able to get a perfect on top of his little tackle, especially because we saw he was doing a lot of tackles before. I probably could have just gone straight for the strike, but it ends up working out. Now this is a match I've watched over and over again. I've watched this match so many times because I really could have won it. But it's a banger of a match, I'll say that much. So right here, we're able to get him in the sidestep. For once, I had some really good patience. And I really thought I dropped this combo, but I just didn't wait long enough. Now, he did go for a strike change right there, and we are going to force the vanish with the green card. But right there, he does get some good patience in there and does prioritize his vanishes really well. Now, I have made comments disparaging against this man, SSB Kaioken, and I think they're fully seen right there, because arguably his strongest attack in his strongest state ends up being not a big deal. Now he is able to capitalize on a perfect on a tap blast, which ends up being pretty wild. This was something I ended up being pretty annoyed about because I've had this happen a couple of times where I've gone for a ki cancel a couple of times over the last couple of weeks where I've gone for a ki cancel, and instead of actually canceling it, it's chained it into the attack, and my card just acts as if I went for a trigger happy attack. So that's something I ended up being annoyed about, and I think it's something that people should be mindful of going forward, is that it's not always going to work out. Now there, not necessarily sure what happened. I just ended up being trigger happy on my vanish as per usual, and he gets it in. Now here's an interesting one again, because we had another player who's rushing the Kid Goku, and right there it's going to end up being a rush eater, which puts me in a pretty decent spot, but we're not able to guess it, and so that is going to take care of the first life pretty darn well. Which, I mean, is not the worst thing in the world, but it's also not the best thing. I tend to pop the main immediately after if he gets rushed, but it does sometimes in turn end up wasting the ult. So we get some nice little taps in there to put some distance on, but he does get a very timely switch. And right here, we're going to bring in the SSJ3 just to at least tank the damage a little bit, but it matters not because our boy is just one step ahead with these switches. So it looks like someone's going to be in trouble here, and it looks like it's going to be Kid Goku. Once again, a well-timed switch and a perfect vanish ends up being my downfall. But right there, we're actually able to do something about it ourselves. Now here, that was me getting greedy. I should have known that the strike cancel was still there, and he's got the follow-up to boot. Getting his strike cost up, and while yes, a green card helps out a little bit, it's just not much help. I try to get him with the blue card in the sidestep, but it ends up working out in his favor. We do get the perfect here, and that is going to call for some nice stuff. Now, in my mind, for whatever reason, I figured I was going to be able to chain that to be a strike and the ult, but it ends up working out that he switches into VB anyway. However, this is going to end up being the death for Kid Goku, as it's just not necessarily a great stock for me. So at this point, things are looking pretty bleak, but we've seen the tackles a couple of times. We're able to get a perfect on him. And things work out because we're able to kind of get the main in there and pull out some blast starts, because I was anticipating another cover change, but it did work out. Now there, I thought I had time to rush perfectly, but I guess I did not. It just kind of is what it is. You know, his combo goes for a little bit, and he's even going to pop his own second rush, which is crazy to me. That 2 matches in a row we've been able to get second rush. One we're able to come back from, and even this one, it's looking pretty good. It's looking in our favor. Now this is the part where I know had I done something different, I would have been fine. I would have won. Had I used that green card just there and restored my key, I very much think that it would have been plenty of key, plenty of blast damage to have rounded it out, that I could have at least gotten the combo off and ended it out. But we do go soul for a soul. He guesses my vanish, and it ends up being a fair loss. Okay, so for this match, this actually is the only one that I ended up using Future Goku. We're off to a pretty rough start, but I guess this guy forgot you couldn't chain blue cards, and I guess I forgot to be patient for 30 seconds. So the reason I hung around right there is because he's already kind of showing a little bit of patience, and I figured I could get a solid vanish in on that. But he does manage to get a perfect on me because he does have some pretty good patience. It's a very good reaction time for that matter. So for there, I wasn't really thinking about doing a switch, just because I'm trying to get as much damage to Zamasu as possible right here, considering he's pretty low on HP, and the damage that SSJ3 does is pretty incredible. Now this ends up being a waste of the ult, because I thought that strike was going to do the job. I really thought that the strike was going to do the trick. It doesn't end up doing anything. And right there, we once again go for the double switch, but I just, for whatever reason, decided to go for a blast and just kind of end up getting perfected anyway. So he gets an opportunity to go for the ult, and the red future battle begins. But it only ends up bringing us to half health, and this ends up being a phenomenal stop clock. A phenomenal stop clock. Gets a beautiful perfect in, lines us up for a nice combo. And with those beautiful green cards, we get some excellent start-off power for our boy GB to get going with the combos. Now that right there, let me tell you, was an excellent backdash that he adapted very well, and it was something very cool to see in match, because I don't normally see a lot of players successfully pull off a backdash. So he lands the ult, gets a good combo in there for him. We do have that restore health passive that does help out a good deal. And I do end up bringing SSJ3 in, just because I'm trying to prioritize vanishes a little bit. Trying to play around with vanishes, see what I can do, see if maybe I can catch him in a combo. And that's, we try, but it doesn't end up quite working. Now here, we end up getting him very nicely with a tackle of our own. And we're able to just demolish Rose and really show off who's boss in terms of the future red unit. So right there, I get a little panic swipey, but it's okay, because, you know, it is what it is. And we even start to do, you know, the usual shtick of just kind of fucking around, playing with vanishes. I even may have done that switch a little early, just because it was nice to get my vanish back, but didn't need to. Now, we do end up rushing. We do end up getting guessed, which is fine. It's not going to be great looks for SSJ3, as the favor is returned, but this ends up being my favorite thing ever. We end up going a soul for a soul. And with that, we're able to end it with a tap blast. So I have to say this match was a lot of fun, and I'm glad to end the video on it. You can see a lot of good plays from both of us on this. So we're able to use the backdash to our advantage. It gets a nice little perfect going for us early on. And we just start getting a nice little combo going. I believe I actually dropped the combo there. I charged for a little too long, but it ends up going okay. It doesn't look like I dropped the combo. We get a nice little switch, a nice little tap there, a nice little tap flash. And now this was a nice little double switch on him because I just immediately went thinking he was immediately going to go after. But that was a beautiful little double switch and just a nice delay going on. Why he switched here to Frieza, however, I'm not quite sure. And I think this is kind of what started putting him in the wrong path. But he does manage to get a nice tackle in, waste a nice little chunk of my ki. And I think that was even a perfect that he ends up wasting by going for the green card. But does end up going for a nice stop clock to get that on top. And even right there, that was a stop clock that I wasted because it ended up being more in favor for me than it was for him. So this puts him in a pretty good position right here. But we are kind of one step ahead of him on the switches, so that's okay. So we're going to take a little bit of damage going on right here. But not too much because, you know, type advantage and all that. Now there, we're actually able to take advantage of his double switch. And I wasn't really waiting around on that one because I had a feeling he was going to do the same thing twice. So this is a good example of me adapting for once in my miserable life because I'm not the best at it. But we go for the ult here, hoping that it's going to take Frieza out, and lo and behold, it doesn't, because despite him being aged quite some time, Mans is still pretty tanky, especially at, I think it was, this guy had a 10-star or something like that? Yeah, I'll have to recheck. But at this point, he starts doing some panic swipey stuff, and I figured I'm going to be able to catch him, which I do. And I do have to queue up the ult here, but I think a little bit of lag kicked in, because for whatever reason, the combo drops. And I end up wasting that ult. Thus, Vegeta, waster of ults, makes his triumphant return. But we do manage to get a perfect in that doesn't go to waste on SSJ3, and my man's can go to work. And at this point, the only one who's really threatening us is this purple cooler, which he's still a major threat, considering how tanky he is. Like, that blue card did nothing, and in reality, I probably could have saved it for somebody else, but I was just trying to kind of prioritize my vanish a little bit and see what damage we could put up in the meantime. So right there, I got a little panic swipey with his move forward. I figured he was going to dash forward and try to attack. I figured I could catch him in that, but he actually did a really good move of baiting out my sidestep, which queues him up for this ult right here. So that's what I'm talking about with this match. There were just a lot of good plays on both of us. We both had a lot of mistakes, but there were both a lot of good plays here. And this is kind of another example of it. He got in a really nice double switch into the stop clock, but ended up delaying himself a little bit too much. So a really nice play on his part that actually ends up working out in my favor. So we're gonna go for some taps there on Frieza, which end up just doing a monstrous amount of damage with type advantage. And if we consider the age difference. So I'm just going to kind of go for heals here, see if we can catch him with some kind of stop clock. And we do catch him in a sidestep in doing so, because he does try that dash forward move again, which fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. Don't fool me twice. There, we're even able to get a nice double switch of our own in, and we get the forfeit. And so yeah, that's our showcase.